Welcome to Law Talk Today, a series devoted to bringing you informative and educational programs focused on issues of law, government, and community. Hello, and welcome to Law Talk Today. I'm Dan Agatino, your host. Joining us in studio today are attorneys Chris Colabella and Susan Carlson of the law firm of Gruber, Colabella, Liuzza, and Williams. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for having us, Dan.
Susan, I'd like to start with you and welcome you to the show and ask you a few questions about the people who are coming into the office. Right now, we're facing unprecedented economic crises, and people are seeking out financial advice from attorneys more than ever before. Can you tell us about some of the people who you see in your office day to day?
Well, Dan, thank you for having us. And primarily right now the people that are coming into our office are people who are experiencing the difficulties associated with the economic crisis. The mounting bills, the decreasing salaries, and the inability to keep up with just paying the bills and the mortgages, many of whom are already in serious credit card arrears and or mortgage arrears and currently facing foreclosures.
Just in case some of our audience doesn't know, what does arrears mean?
It just means they're behind on their payments. They've missed a payment, 2 payments, 3 payments, but they're behind on their debt. They're not making the monthly payments timely. So
these people are coming to the office and asking for your guidance. And what is it that you primarily tell them?
Each individual is a unique and specific experience. And the first thing I want to do is find out, are they current on their mortgage, are they current on their bills, their credit cards, etc. If they're not, then the question is how far delinquent or how far behind in the payments are they, so that I can assess how best to help them.
Now, Chris, you deal with people all the time who have similar issues, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, though. Over the last year, we've just seen a tremendous influx of individuals coming in who are in financial distress, and there are a lot of options out there. There's a lot of banking institutions, credit card companies who are more willing these days to actually deal with individuals who are going through crisis. And obviously it benefits them and it benefits the individuals. And frankly, it's something that when you're looking at it and trying to be objective, is something that everyone needs to really focus on. In fact, there's legislation now that's helping folks out with foreclosures, and we're probably going to see more legislation. We have the stimulus package, of course, which is supposed to hopefully help out individuals. But on a ground floor basis, what Susan and I try to do with individuals is really try to assess where they are. Would you agree, Susan?
Yes.
That we just sort of help them evaluate the income that they have coming in, evaluate the debt that they're dealing with, the assets that are available to maybe liquidate to satisfy the debt. So I guess the first part of the process when we're doing this is to just take an inventory of where they are. And that's kind of the starting point. And from there, we try to make contact with creditors and try to help them to work out deals with the individual creditors.
So is it fair to say that there are more options now than there were in the past to talk about mortgage forbearance, mortgage modification, debt consolidation, negotiating with collection agencies and such?
Absolutely. I'm seeing that quite a bit, primarily with the mortgage companies. A large part of the clientele that we have coming in either bought their home when the subprime market was very popular, and where they were doing 100% financing, and your second loan was up in the 11, 12, 13% range. And a lot of people also are in the situation where their house is actually less than what their mortgage owed is. And the mortgage companies now seem to be trying to work with us to bring some of those higher interest rates more current with today's standards. In other words, bring those 10, 11, 12% down to the 5.5%, 6%, and maybe taking the amount that's past due and allowing it to be built on the back end of the mortgage and restructure your mortgage payment, almost as though you're starting with a brand new mortgage as of today, even though it's the current mortgage that you had from years ago, but they'll reduce the interest rate and take the back debt and consolidate it and go forward.
I think that's a good technique, Chris.
Well, it is. I mean, you know, you hear this term, you know, they're upside down. You know, this term gets thrown around a lot, and it's amazing how many people are upside down. And that means that the value of their assets, the house primarily, their primary residence, is actually worth less than the principal balance on their mortgage. So you have a situation like that, and a lot of individuals just walk away because it doesn't make sense. You know, why are you going to make monthly payments on this house that's worth less than you owe, and it doesn't appear, or at least right now, that it's going to be worth more than you owe anytime soon. So other than it being a place for them to live, which is obviously important, a lot of people from an investment standpoint say, you know what, this doesn't make any sense. I'm paying $2,500 a month for my mortgage, and I'm going to get nothing out of this. And I can't afford to pay the $2,500. And generally it happens when somebody loses a job. You have two wage earners in a home, and their finances are based on those two incomes. And they apply for the mortgage, especially if it's a subprime loan. And we should, I guess, explain what a subprime loan is. The adjustable rate loans that a lot of times there are no documents required in terms of providing proof of what your income is. Years ago they would do that, no doc loans. But the subprime loans are loans that are fixed at a certain rate, say 3 or 4 or 5% for a period of time, maybe 2 or 3 years. And then after the 2 or 3 years, the rate goes up to maybe 7 or 8% and may adjust based on the Treasury yearly. And what happens is, after a while, they get up to a point where the payment is something they just can't afford.
Right.
But when they went into it, the idea was, and the brokers would say this, and no offense to the brokers, of course, but you'll be able to refinance in a year. The real estate market is just booming, and if you buy this house at $300,000 today and you finance the whole thing, in a year from now it's going to be worth $350,000 or $400,000, and you'll be able to refinance and get a lower rate or get a fixed rate mortgage. Well, sometimes the year goes by and they're unable to do that. Somebody lost a job or they just can't get the mortgage, so they're servicing this debt that they really can't afford to service. And all it takes is for one of the spouses or roommates, whatever, or partners in a home to lose their job, and they just can't afford to keep up the payments. And that's where we get into this whole idea of mortgage modification, or like a forbearance agreement. If they're behind on their mortgage, the banks will generally work with you, and it's something that it's unfortunate that I think was created by this whole lending policy a couple of years ago, just to generate revenue, of course, for the banks, and we're suffering the consequences now.
So when you say that we're suffering the consequences now, the challenge for many people who come into the office, you're saying they're having mortgages that were once low and now